All right, let's talk about driving in inclement conditions, rough weather, bad snow, all that stuff. The country this year in particular went through a lot of that. Texas had ice storms. A lot of people got exposed to bad weather conditions that they probably aren't used to. So let's go over some of just the basics of driving in inclement weather and bad weather. Number one thing always is to do a mindset assessment. You have to evaluate the risk before you go out and drive. Let's take me, for example. My folks live a couple hours away from me, and in the winter, sometimes I got to drive down there. I run through a couple mental checks before I will go do that. Am I in the right headspace? Have I run through a proper risk assessment? I mean, do I really need to drive down there? And if I do I need to drive down there tonight, or can I wait into the morning? Those two things right there can save you from a lot of headaches right off the bat. And a lot of us here in Montana, that's kind of a norm. If you're going to go travel somewhere, it's not uncommon to say, you know, I'm not going to come tonight, I'll be there in the morning. Or I'm going to leave right now before it gets dark. Those are comments that we share amongst each other during all the bad weather throughout the winters. The next thing is something that has to be done far before all the bad weather ever hits, and that's having a good, reliable vehicle. If your vehicle is not reliable, that goes into your decision whether you should go or not and at what time. Now, you may have to go no matter what, it's an emergency. Hopefully you were prepared for that situation before this happens, but then it's going to come down to driving skills when you actually have to set out on the road. After you set out on the road, the biggest rule is slow down. In the winter, what you want to do with snow and ice, and depending what the kind of snow it is and what kind of ice it is, you have to extend your stopping distances. You expand the time between you, the car in front of you, and hopefully the car behind you. You give everybody a lot more room. You start braking far sooner before that corner than when on a dry road you run up to the corner and slow down and then accelerate through it. Different on the ice roads. You want to already be slowed down before you start into that corner. A lot of times you'll coast through the corner and then accelerate on the straight line out. Rarely do you ever accelerate in a corner like you would on a dry road on icy roads, because that's where you're going to lose your traction. There's a threshold to everything when it comes to road surface traction and tire traction. The roads will have its own characteristics depending on temperature, time of day, how hard or packed it is, or light and fluffy the snow is, and the kind of tires that you have. How cold is it? How hard is the compound right now, etc. There's a lot of things going on. So if you're unfamiliar with the roads, and the next thing that I like to do is called a brake action test. When you perform a brake action test, you're doing it inside of a controlled space. You're not waiting for that emergency stop or that defensive maneuver to find out how slick the roads are. Hit the brakes, see how hard you slide. See if you do slide. Is it sticky? Is it tacky? You'll learn a lot from that. Don't forget that four-wheel drive means four-wheel drive. It doesn't mean four-wheel stop. That's a big misconception that people think that a four-wheel drive system actually helps them slow down sooner. It does not. If you're going to be driving in inclement weather, have the right tire. It really comes down to that right off the bat. There's probably nothing that you can do to your vehicle that will give you better performance and a higher safety margin than having the proper tire for the conditions of the road. A lot of people say, oh, well, my mud terrains should be great on the ice because look how aggressive they are. That's not how it works. It comes down to siping and how much grip it can get on the loose surface. Mud terrains aren't great for that. And all terrain is much better for that. A snow tire is specifically designed for ice and snow. And if you've never run the two, going from like a mud terrain to a snow tire is worlds of difference. The stopping distances are substantially less. The acceleration is substantially better. The safety margins are through the roof. That's why they build them that way. If you're going to go into inclement weather and be on icy roads and conditions, at least look at getting a snow tire. At the minimum, an all-terrain tire. So a couple quick tips. Never set cruise control on slick surfaces. It's a disaster waiting to happen as it tries to keep your speed, and the accelerator runs through it and accelerates past its traction threshold and can cause a wreck. Don't run cruise control in slick conditions. Next, have essentially a bug out bag or a 24-hour bag. It doesn't necessarily have to be a bug out bag, but you may have to leave your vehicle if it's a real bad situation. Maybe you got in a wreck, you're down in the ditch, and now you have to leave for a certain period of time before the wrecker can come get it tomorrow, or you're stuck and you have to stay there until help arrives. I would say a good 24-hour bag or case, a tote or whatever you need to store 24 hours of food, water, warm blankets, flashlights, things that you would want with you if you had to live in your car in a snowstorm or in a bad situation for 24 hours, depending on where you live in the world. In your 24-hour bag, if you are storing water, make sure that you store it inside the cab in freezing temperatures. A frozen water bottle doesn't do you any good in an emergency situation when your heater no longer runs and you can't even thaw it out. Have your own recovery gear. Make sure that you have a tow strap that can pull your car out by using somebody else's. A snatch strap is a great idea to have if you just need to be recovered from a stuck situation, especially in an SUV or pickup where you might be in deeper snow and it needs to be lifted out. Or carry, at a minimum, max tracks that will help you self-recover in the event that you get stuck. It's only a matter of time before you do drive in inclement weather, especially as an overlander traveling hopefully around the world. You're going to run into it. So the basics are slow down, increase your timing, keep your eyes up and out, and be safe.